If you've ever played an RPG and found your characters low on health, you probably just healed. But what if you couldn't? Well, I challenged myself to beat Final Fantasy IX without healing. And the first hurdle actually has nothing to do with gameplay. I need a naming theme. And given that our characters will be brittle and bitter, I decide that they're gonna be old ladies. Zidane becomes Blanche, a nod to one of my favorite shows of all time, The Golden Girls. And by the way, you might be thinking that Primal Liquid already did this challenge, and you'd be right. But he allowed himself to use healing spells and items on bosses and heal status effects. We're not doing that. It will lead to a lot more suffering, and I will touch on that later. Anyway, Blanche and his 3 elderly accomplices fight Baku. I get pretty lucky and steal the Mage Masher, and then I let loose the understatement of the century. I do think there's going to be some grinding that's going to happen. I just don't know when. Some.
I can't wait to see how this turns out.
This battle, though, ends pretty quickly, and the game forces a full party heal. I'll be planning most of the challenge around these. I can't stay at inns, use potions and healing magic, or absorb elemental damage, but this one is a freebie. I grab every item I possibly can with this small boy, we name him Rose, and then we have battle number 2 with Baku and the goons. This, though, is basically a stage fight, and attacking takes care of it. But then we have an important challenge to complete, the sword fight. Completing this perfectly will nab us 10,000 gil, which we can turn into even more money later. Did I get it? Did I get that first time? If I got that, I'll be so happy. Yes! First try! So with that taken care of, we briefly play as Steiner, whom we name Stanley. And because our sword fight impressed Queen Braun, she rewards us with a Moonstone, which will teach Stanley the Beast Killer ability. And while it's certainly not the most useful ability in the game, killing stuff as quickly as possible is crucial to not taking damage. So I slap this rock into Stan's add-on slot and keep on moving. And I move, of course, into a battle with Stanley himself. I steal the shirt off his back, and then we experience the first death of this run. Stan takes out Cinna. Many more to come. But for now, I just finish him off with some bugs and ascend to theatrical greatness. And by that, of course, I mean that we fight Stan and the Pluto Knights, who are essentially just a tutorial battle. We fight Stanley as he sits in front of a bomb, and then I am clued into one of the best games of all time by my chat. Cleyra Obscure? I have never heard of Cleyra Obscure. I'm gonna have to look that up. I actually did look that up, and I will link my first challenge of it in the Discridly too. But anyway, we then find out some new information about Queen Braun. She's a terrible mother. And she curses us as our ship crashes into the forest, truly beginning the challenge. The evil forest is our first real obstacle in this challenge. Blanche starts off the game alone, and it's important to grind with him a little bit before the next battle. However, I don't want to go too crazy because then he'll be at risk of dying. I'll have to be pretty thoughtful about when and where to grind throughout the entire game, and that is primarily because HP and MP aren't restored at all with leveling. The maximum will go up, and this is important because I want my HP and MP to be as high as possible before any healing happens. It's a difficult balance because I'll need that health to defeat any bosses. So at this point, I get Blanche to level 5 before his HP is too low to risk more battles, and I fight a plant. And fortunately, Blanche automatically enters trance for this battle. The plant will absorb the princess's health, and if we don't kill it before her HP drops to 0, the battle will end. Oh, and we'll die. So Blanche hits hard with a free energy attack, Stan attacks, and then the plant takes down Blanche. Oh, darn it, Garnet. And this is really bad, because while Stan is not at risk of dying, the plant still continuously drains HP from Garnet. If her HP goes to 0, nope, we're dead. We're already dead, guys. That's pretty bad. This is already terrible. I can't heal her. I can't heal Garnet. So on try number 2, I once again hit with a free energy attack, but this time the plant attacks Stan instead of Blanche. But on attack number 2, he once again takes out Blanche. But fortunately, Stan is able to deal enough damage to take him out with a couple more attacks. Rose then gets captured, and we unfortunately only have Stan on life support to deal with the plant cage. But Rose helps out with fire spells, so I kinda just have to pray. And Stan comes through with a critical hit and ultimately defeats the plant. This frees Rose at the last possible second. And with that, we're teleported back to the Prima Vista, and these golden gals finally get to see a doctor. With the bitter old lady brigade restored, there is yet another person who wants to obstruct us, Baku. But this time, there will be no stealing. My health is more important than ever, so I just gun him down as quickly as possible, unfortunately taking around 100 damage in the process. But now we acquire some reinforcements, and while we're picking them up, I have an interesting thought. I just realized something. I can heal enemies if they're at full HP and they don't take damage. And you might think this isn't that special a revelation. We're gonna have to circle back to that in a bit. So I acquire my party, kit them up, and head back into the forest. I once again take a moment to grind because that will give me more resources for later. I get Rose and Stan to level 3, and Blanche hits level 5. Wait, wasn't he at level 5 before? Okay, he stayed at level 5, I guess. But then it's time to trim this shrub, and the shrub, sadly, immediately blinds my characters. Oh, that's actually really bad, but I think sword magic will help here. And in fact, since I cannot heal status effects in this challenge, sword magic will definitely help, because sword magic cannot miss its target, and this plant is weak to fire, so both Stan and Rose's magic is going to be hugely impactful. Unfortunately though, the plant's next thunder attack takes out both Blanche and Rose, leaving us with only the geriatric knight. But fortunately, Blanche's death causes Blank to enter the fray. I have Stan use Minus Strike and Blank attacks. However, the plant queues up a thunder attack, so things are looking grim. But Stan survives it, which is not what I expected to happen. But the next thunder spell takes him out, and we have just one thief left to finish off this overgrown geranium. And with a final flourish, Blank finishes off the flower, so I breathe and I breathe a sigh of relief. But not for long. There is a mandatory battle with some bugs before we can leave the forest. But blissfully, only 3 of them attack us. They start off with magic attacks, and fortunately Blank takes piddly diddly damage from thunder spells and can one-shot the buggies in return. So the first one goes down. The buggy's next physical attack doesn't do much either, so he's able to defeat buggy number 2. And buggy number 3 goes down shortly after. Blank is the GOAT! Before I leave the forest, I make sure to strip Blank of his armor, but I unfortunately don't have another sword to swap, so that's all I can grab. But thankfully, I now get... After escaping the Dark Forest, I head to the Ice Cavern. We now have access to Princess Garnet, who starts at level 1, and therefore is going to be a pain to level up. And another thing that is a pain are these wired enemies. They can swap HP with my characters. Doesn't matter too much for the frail ones, but for Blanche, that would be a death sentence. Because the next boss... Oh, by the way, I killed it before that could ever happen. Because the next boss is a solo fight with only Blanche against Black Waltz 1 and the Sea Lion. And this battle doesn't look too bad from jump. The attacks from these two are doing pretty paltry damage. However, it does eventually add up, leaving me at 86 health when Black Waltz 1 finally falls. Unfortunately, Sea Lion immediately hits with a hard blizzard, so things are looking pretty dire. But I gained some valuable information. Uh-oh, he's at yellow. Okay, so at least now I know 2 attacks takes him to yellow, which is troubling, because I can't tolerate a Blizzara, at least not at this HP. Oh, and in case I forgot to mention, I died. So on the next attempt, I try something different. I start Blanche in the front row, hit the Sea Lion once, which unfortunately is a critical hit, makes his gem yellow and stimulates a Blizzara, and then move Blanche into the back row. And while this will make his attacks do less damage, it will also allow him to take less damage, which is important because every time he takes damage from the enemy, his trance gauge will increase. And since he'll take less damage from each physical attack from the Sea Lion, he'll be able to take a greater number of attacks before being defeated. This will give him a greater chance of going into trance and wiping out the entire enemy party. But unfortunately... Yeah, that did a lot. Okay. I can't take out Sea Lion first because he'll just heal him. So I die. And the third try goes just as badly. Yeah, and then the pain begins. Now, I mentioned these wireds earlier and how they can swap HP with my characters, and Blanche does have more HP than they do, particularly after they get whacked a couple of times. That means once they do the swap, he's down to 48 HP. So in the next battle, he just dies. But I head into the Black Waltz battle with him dead to see what happens. At least you know it's a free revival, but like, oh! Oh my god, you guys, it just automatically gave him healing and trance. I didn't know that would happen. It just did. It was a forced heal. Oh wait, no. I pushed a button. I pushed a button, that's why. Oopsies. The remaster has a button press that will fully heal your characters and automatically give them trance. So the moral of the story is that I have fat, clumsy fingers. As it turns out, as I figure out when I do that again, if Blanche is dead, the game just revives him with 1 HP. Yep, I'm just gonna die. So we go backwards to our save, and I come up with a plan here. I need Blanche's trance, and in order to get it, I'm going to abuse those wireds from before, because just as they can take away HP by switching, they can also give it back. And I actually did not count this as healing because I'm not absorbing any elements. I'm also not in control of when it happens. This is just the wireds doing their thing. That being said, my goal was not to reach the highest level because that would just be an infinite grind. My goal is just to build up Blanche's trance gauge to the point where one attack in the Black Waltz battle will activate trance. So after about a bajillion deaths, my health is at 129, everyone is dead, and I flee from my final pair of wireds. And I save in a new file. I was actually really good about saving during this challenge, and thank God, because if I hadn't been, it would have been terrible. But now, it's time to fight. Blanche is in the back row, and a weak wing attack and a blizzard immediately activate trance. A tidal flame kills Black Waltz 1, and Sea Lion immediately counters with Tsunami, bringing Blanche to critical health. And because that was a counterattack, Sea Lion immediately gets another turn. Don't think this kills? I was wrong. On the next try, I get hit by 2 blizzards before trance activates. The tidal flame destroys Black Waltz 1, and as expected, Sea Lion counters with Tsunami. But then its follow-up attack is Wing, and because Blanche is in the back row, this only does 10 damage. We survived. Okay, we got it! You guys, we freaking got this. That's amazing. Oh my god, that was terrible. And after my ancient ladies exit the ice cave, we name our princess Sophia, we stutter step across the plains to avoid all encounters, and the golden girls seek medical care in Dali. In Dali, we finally get to spend some of the money we earned at the medical supply store to buy some sturdier wrists. And I wouldn't know anything about that. We'll use those later for some free money. And I also sell all of my healing items since those are also free money. We will not be using them. So Rose gets kidnapped and sent to a geriatric psych ward, and we rescue him from his captors. And his adult child comes to insist that he takes his sedatives. By the way, that adult child is Black Waltz 2. With everyone at full health, I just attack like crazy with Stan and Blanche, and I have Rose focus to increase his magic power. But unfortunately, once Black Waltz 2 hits around half health, he casts Fira on the entire party, removing Rose from the equation entirely. And a few attacks later, he casts Fire on Blanche, causing another fatality. But with just a couple more strikes, Stan is able to defeat this nagging nuisance. And we head back into town to restock. But I discover something interesting when I head back into the inn to save. Oh, that was an auto... I don't think I can do that. I don't think I'm allowed to do that. Yeah, merely entering the inn causes the party to automatically heal. So that's a no-go, and I'm gonna have to reset. And because my autosave is now stuck post-heal, I have to load my last save file. That means I'm back in the storage area, and I have to fight Black Waltz 2 again. But let's not draw this out. I won. But this time, instead of going into the inn, I head to the world map and save. And then it's time to fly off into the sky. Sadly, Rose's third adult child has a bit of a tantrum now that we've removed her from the nursing home, and we gotta fight. But something great happened. Everyone's healed, guys. Everyone's healed. That's a full heal. Rose starts the battle in trance, and I immediately use a double fire along with a fire sword from Stan. Black Waltz 3 then queues up a Fira and hits Rose, leaving him with a sliver of health. Rose uses another double fire and his trance ends, and then another fire sword goes off. And Black Waltz 4 throws here, using Blizzard on Blanche instead of one of my other golden gals. Another fire from Rose, another fire from Stan. Please, 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 please. Ah, yes! First try. So with that, we're on to Lindblum. Our first order of business is to meet up with the mouse of the house, Dorothy. And after that, it's time to get some money. By merging the 99 wrists we got with some steepled hats in town, we can make cotton robes, which sell for a ton of profit. And before I participate in the Festival of the Hunt, I step outside with Blanche for a grind. And it's a pretty quick grind. Oh no, this is so bad. 1 frickin' HP. Okay, I'll take it. So once the festival starts, all I need to do is die, because that means that Freya wins the festival and we gain the coral ring. And we get... And we also recruit a chef, which is useful because without teeth, these golden gals really need a steady supply of soup. So Coco joins the brigade. And another old bird joins the brigade as well, Choco. And in terms of Chocobo Hot and Cold, one of the best minigames in existence, there are no compromises. I need all of the things from this minigame, and I need them now. Initially, though, I settle for all of the Chocographs before I go to bed. But on the next stream, disaster strikes. Oh my god, you guys, I never clicked the go live button, did I? Guys! I've been playing Chocobo Hot and Cold for the last hour, wondering why nobody's talking to me. And it's because I never hit the live button, guys. But I recover from that because I eventually get 10,000 points. I mean, we're at Robe of Lords, so like I could just stop, and I think I am just gonna stop. I'm gonna save. I ultimately give the Robe of Lords to Rose. He's frail, he has the most consistent magic, and I'm glad I did, because we have some mandatory battles with some big bad mages. These guys get forked to death, and the next set gets shish kebabbed. But unfortunately, I get caught in a battle with Lamia soon after, and she takes out Dorothy. And since I don't want to go into the next boss fight without her, I reset. And while I would love to grind since we're about to get a story heal, that's not going to happen, so I just head in to fight Gizamaluke. And remember when I said I was allowed to use healing items as long as an enemy was at full health? Well, that is very important in this particular fight. Using a tent on an enemy has a 50% chance of causing blind, silence, and poison. And Gizamaluke is vulnerable to 2 of those. And since he uses water spells pretty frequently, I really need him silenced. So I use my first one. Give me a 10 snake. Please. Yes! Okay, we got it right away. So I have to steal. I need to steal. I get the Magus hat and the elixir quite quickly, but Gizamaluke also has a staff with level 2 magic for Rose. And while stealing that, I lose Blanche, which means I'm starting over. And I once again get the tent snake on the first try. And then Dorothy gets wrecked. They're dead. Okay. So, 3rd try. It uses water and I just reset. But the 4th try, that's gonna be the one. Actually, I lied. For some reason, my tents don't have snakes in them this time. But the 5th try, that's gonna... But the 6th try... Okay, never mind. Because the 7th try, my tent does the snake thing and I almost miss it. Ice staff! There it is! Okay. I can now go ham. And for all the people out there who love ham, my ancient ladies pile on the attacks and Gizamaluke is eventually defeated. With that, we are joined by Stan, Sophia, and a big bag of pickles. At Southgate, I give Sophia some new equipment, but she's gonna be okay no matter what I do, so we basically just head back to Gizamaluke's grotto after a train ride and get a... Before I move on, I get gassed and I give my Chocobo blue balls. And you may know those as blobberies. Wait a minute, did I write this part of the script on an edible? Well, I take my Chocobo around, grab some Chocograph treasures, and finally head into Burmecia. Funny story, one of my friends is from Burma, and one time I literally asked her if she was from Final Fantasy IX. Because Burmecia. I'm an idiot. It takes a while to barrel through this land of the mice, but eventually we reach yet another challenge. General Beatrix! And my goal is just to survive for 10 of Beatrix's turns. But she's not going to make it easy. She goes for a shock attack right away, which just destroys Rose. I have Dorothy jump, and Beatrix misses her next 2 attacks, but not the next Thunder Slash. And then she shocks Blanche to kill him, and then attacks Coco. So that's 6. Dorothy takes blow number 7, and then I have her jump. Coco then dies, Dorothy descends, and I have one request for this lovely lady. Don't shock. Don't shock. Oh, that was so freaking sad. So I die. So we're doing it again. And dying again. And doing it a third time. Coco gets shocked immediately, and then everyone defends while Dorothy jumps. She's the last woman standing, and by having her jump, she can skip several of Beatrix's attacks, leading to an early end to this fight. And a... Sophia and Stan are chilling on a train, and this guy is not happy about it. I still love it if Stan survived to get more AP, and more importantly because he can't get healed, so I have Sophia cast Shell on both him and Marcus. And Stan goes down anyway. Fuck. We have a lot of prep to do. I head to Dali to grab more risk to do the cotton robe trick again, and then I head to Quan's dwelling, where I grab the Scorpio Stallatio. And then in Treno, I throw some coins into a fountain to grab the Gamini Stallatio. And I get the Taurus Stallatio from this chest. Then I do the cotton robe thing to get more money, and finally, in the auction house, I buy a few more add-ons to round out my supply. Specifically, the Medane's ring for the body temp ability, and the Reflect ring for auto-reflect. And the Reflect ring ends up being the most important piece of equipment in the game. But more on that later. I also submit my Stallatios to Queen Stella, and she gives me the Blood Sword, which normally is an incredibly useful weapon. But since this sword heals every time my characters attack, it's basically useless for this challenge. But I do get it, and I'm proud of that. And then it's off to Gargan Rue, where I realize that Stan was auto-revived. He's now at 1 HP. How luxurious. And speaking of luxury, I want a new purse, and I plan to make one out of this snake. And while Stan does get taken out relatively quickly, the battle is otherwise not a big deal, except our bag runs away. Yeah, this cat is going to be held for the next part of the video because she loves to be held. But then we get a... The giant sandstorm of Cleyra is our next destination. I grab a few levels from sand guys before I climb to the top, and then after flushing Coco down the sand toilet, we fight the antlion. Alright, please tell me I gotta heal here. At least for Vivi. Because if not, I'm gonna have to go backwards. Okay, everybody got... That is really annoying. The antlion counters with somewhat strong attacks. Nonetheless, I play risky and have Rose use her newly learned Blizzara, which does massive damage. And the antlion doesn't counter, which is marvelous. Unfortunately though, the antlion does use Sandstorm, which drops Blanche, Coco, and Rose to critical HP. Dorothy was jumping, so she escapes it. A second Blizzara from Rose once again hits hard with no... Oh my god, cat. A second Blizzara from Rose once again hits hard with no counter, and Dorothy jumps up again for safety. But that doesn't matter because the antlion just uses Sandstorm again, which alerts me to another odd mechanic. Oh, it brings you to a random critical number, so he actually healed us. Not that there's anything I can do about that. And I once again decide to just ignore this healing. The enemy is doing it to me, it doesn't result in a big green number, and Rose hits his next Blizzara within seconds, finishing off the antlion. But let me know if you think that Sandstorm counts as healing. I'm actually planning a video on weird mechanics in Final Fantasy, so you'll definitely see this mechanic pop up. But anyway, we have a mousy little dance party, the Sandstorm dissolves, and we head back to the tree for some battles with the Alexandrian divas, which is not really an issue. Also not an issue, saving all the people from the Alexandrian soldiers. But big issue, we have another fight with Beatrix. No, I'm not going to stop doing that. Beatrix immediately shocks Blanche, killing him, and then Beatrix immediately shocks Rose, killing him, and then a Thunder Slash kills Coco. So my only hope is using Dorothy to jump and waste a bunch of Beatrix's turns. And I pray to the RNG gods. Don't shock. Just don't... No! And I die. The second try, I say a prayer again. Don't shock again. And my prayer is answered.
With death.
And the third time, it's literally just another shock for our mousy old lady. On try number 4, she hits Coco with a Thunder Slash, destroying her. Then Blanche gets wrecked by a shock. An attack and Thunder Slash combo take out Rose, and Dorothy is, for the 4th time, the last senior standing. And when she comes down from her jump, Beatrix physically attacks again and misses, which means Dorothy can jump into the air again and skip more of Beatrix's turns. So I say my prayer. Please don't shock. Yes! Yes! Yes, Dorothy is OP! So Queen Braun uses an ancient horsey to destroy Cleyra, and... Back in Alexandria Castle, our caged nightingales are singing, and this is maybe one of my last chances to grind with them. Unfortunately though, for an underleveled Stan, these lovely ladies are too much and I die. But I make a small change for my next attempt. I remove the reflect ring from Blanche so that Stan can use auto-reflect. And while the soldiers will no longer use Blizzara because they're smarter than I gave them credit for, their physical attacks are much less impactful. But I get greedy, and once again, I die. But the next time, I play more conservatively and Stan rises to level 12. And then I stop fighting and Stan rejoins the party. So we are Gucci, because our next obstacles are Zorn and Thorn. The gimmick of this battle is that they pass power from one to the other, and attacking the receiver negates their power. And because that's their only means of offense, I can basically prevent them from doing anything while Blanche steals all of their items. So relatively quickly, they are defeated. But the pain is just getting started, because now we have another fight with Beatrix. Same deal. Dorothy jumps, Rose and Stan go for damage, and Beatrix takes out Stan with a shock pretty quickly. But I make an unfortunate discovery. I'm hopeful that everything will just be fine. Oh, he has the coral ring. Well, gotta unequip that. And we also gotta start over. Beatrix uses Thunder Slash on Dorothy first, which she survives. And then she's able to jump. She next attacks, and Blanche easily survives since he's in the back row. Stan goes down to the next one though, and even worse, a shock then kills Rose. And another one kills Blanche. But then Beatrix makes a huge error. Just don't... Oh, she cured herself! Ooh, bad move, Beatrix Lestrange. Yes! Had she not cured herself, that would have gone very badly. And Beatrix destroys my party. I mean, that's not wrong, but it's really annoying. But now it's time to fight the bunny dogs. And with Beatrix's Clim Hazard, we can kill it in one hit. But now my other elegant ladies fight some bunny dogs of their own. And right away, I bungle it. I forget that Stan has auto-reflect equipped, and I cast Protect on him, which gets bounced off onto a bunny dog. But fortunately, the unbuffed one goes down relatively quickly. However, the second one manages to evade Stan's attack, and Rose has to pick up his slack with a Blizzara. The next set of black mages are no issue, but there's another set of bunny dogs just after. But this time I don't accidentally buff them, and the decrepit dames are able to pulverize these pound escapees. But then Stan develops a predilection for elderly angels and scrams. But there's one more bunny dog we need to demolish without him. Oh, and maybe I forgot to mention, but... And because of that heal, this bunny dog is not an issue. Nor are the next two that we fight with Beatrix. Oh my God, slick my mic. Beatrix's Clim Hazard takes them out in one strike. And while Stan joins Beatrix and Dorothy to help out, Beatrix is perfectly capable of helping herself, removing the bunny dogs in one fell swoop. But there's one more monster standing in the way of our freedom. This snake. And as usual, it's no problem. One character attacks, the snake curls up, and as long as I don't attack while it's curled up, my elderly firing squad is essentially invincible and they slay this snake. So we recruit Ramu, watch Lindblum get eaten, and... Since I know another heal is coming, I do a little grind with Blanche and Sophia outside of Lindblum. But boredom strikes, so after Sophia learns ability up, I reclaim my time. And by the way, somehow, 25 years after this game was released, we still have issues with the software. Every joke has a kernel of truth, you know that. What just happened? Did my game just freeze? Thankfully, this issue is minimal because of autosave, but gosh, that could have been bad. After leaving Lindblum, we hook up with Coco, who has just been chilling with the frogs for a while, and we start a battle with Lonnie. And while I'm able to kill her, there's a small problem. Oh no. Is this a reset? Oh god, we are on life support now. But I have a stroke of luck. I encounter an abomination, and if Coco eats this monster, they'll learn the night spell. And I really need Coco to learn the night spell. So I very carefully have Rose use Fyra. Let's see. That didn't kill, so maybe we have a chance. And then I get a little bit careless. I suck. But you know what doesn't suck? These fairy earrings I find just beyond the beyond. What do fairy earrings give? Lots of spirit. Oh, level up. Okay. Oh, freaking K. I will take that. We'll even get rid of some stuff for level up. Like, that is a worthwhile ability. Wow, wow, wow. But that's not my only victory of the hour, because I encounter another abomination. Maybe what I can do is see if I can eat it after one hit, and then if I can't, I will just kill it. Oh, there it is! You guys, we have night now. So night could change the game. Will it though? Yeah, it will. Near the end of the challenge. And while everyone is on life support by the end of this section, I eventually make it to the Dwarven village where I do not get a full heal, but everyone is automatically revived. So I head to the land of the pointy hats, do the cotton robe thing again for more money, and then get... Is there any way to stop that? So Rose and Sophia get married, and we finally meet our newest recruit, Eiko, whom we name Aurora. And that's not a golden girl, that's just my cat. But what do cats like? Cats like ogres. Or at least that's what I need to tell you to transition into this next fight against the giant ogre. An ounce of float magic is my first order of business. Unfortunately though, Hilgegar's immediately bops Aurora for half her health, so I'm hoping he pulls out some earth shakes in the coming turns. Rose though does pretty great damage with Thundara, and Blanche goes on the offensive as well. A missed punch then puts me in a much better position, and Aurora continues to refresh float, which she will continue to do for the rest of the battle. And I'm glad I made that choice because an earthquake comes next. And that is just a wasted turn for this gross green goblin. Rose gets wrecked by a booty bump next, and I decide to bring out the summons. And Hilgegar's just brings out another earthquake, which is another wasted turn. And I get some good news. Oh, the cat's back. Guys. And then I get some bad news. No, Aurora! Ah! But fortunately, my next attack just kills him. Oh, he's already dead. Okay, we won. Okay, I'll take it. I will take that. I find a friendly Yeti in a nearby forest, and I feed him some ore. And you might notice that the ore makes green number. However, again, these friendly monsters are at max health, so this does not count as healing. So I'm able to learn some new skills with the massive AP it provides. So we head into Madain Sari and get a full heal. Wait, what happened? With Aurora now alive, I meet up with the friendly nymph, and I gift her some ore as well. And that means we're ready to enter the Iifa tree, Leafa tree, love the tree. And right as I enter, there's another grinding opportunity. These woody guys with the Tantacles. But I make a decision. I would soft these guys, it just feels bad. Like, it feels like I should not be doing that, honestly. So we're gonna run. Let me explain. Normally, using a soft on these guys makes them too soft to live. Those are Final Fantasy IX's words, not mine. I'm sure that many of you guys are consistently flaccid and doing just fine. Anyway, this would actually be a great way to grind since it's a one-hit kill that gives a ton of experience. But as I mentioned before, those of you familiar with the Final Fantasy challenge run landscape on YouTube know that Primal Liquid has already done this challenge. And it's been a while since I've watched that video, but I'm pretty sure he allowed himself to heal status effects and use healing items and spells on enemies. But I'm not going to do that. When I play without healing, I just imagine that healing does not exist. And as a mental exercise, I now want you to imagine using your mouse to hit the subscribe button. You're not going to find the kind of videos that I make anywhere else. And this challenge was so arduous that I literally had to stop and work on other videos for a couple of months. We'll talk about that later. So please subscribe to provide healing energy and support my channel. And by the way, money can also be a healing influence. So consider becoming one of the Tantacles by paying $5 a month for early access to all of my videos. That $5 is less than the cost of a dozen eggs, which is insane. Eggs are too expensive, but if you're eating eggs, stop doing it for a little bit and become a member of my channel, pretty please. But also thank you to my current channel members, and thank you for those who are already subscribed. Descending further into the tree, we have to fight 2 forced encounters. The first is with 3 skeletons, and while I would love to heal them to death, I actually just summon them to death instead. A dragon zombie is next, and Rose's fire and Blanche's physical attack take it out. But then it's time for the boss. And this guy would also be lovely to hit with a Phoenix down, but I can't do that. And even though he's weak to fire, I can't do that either. He'll start going crazy and he'll destroy my brittle old biddies. And there's another problem. This boss uses Mustard Bomb on Aurora, and Mustard Bomb could completely ruin my game, because Mustard Bomb has one effect. It causes burn. But this isn't Pokemon. Burn doesn't just do damage. If Aurora acts while she's burned, she will just immediately die. Fortunately though, there is an extremely complicated strategy to counter burn. Sorry if this is a little over-intellectual for this video, but I'm gonna get pretty detailed here. The solution is to do nothing. Yeah, it just wears off eventually. Stupid. Sophia's Ramu spell does a ridiculous 1400 damage, Rose's bio spell has a similar level of power, and Blanche's physical attacks round things out, doing about 4000 damage altogether. He only has about 10,000 health, so we're almost half done. And then he wastes a turn using level 5 death. One thing I forgot to mention is that I made sure no one's level was a multiple of 5 before this battle because of this very attack, and I feel pretty great about that now. So I rinse and repeat, dealing another 3,500 damage. But Soul Cage, that's the name of this boss and I just remembered that, uses Leaf Swirl, which does very little damage. Sweet. And because of that, Aurora is able to summon Fenrir, and then Sophia summons her Thunder Cow once again. And I get lucky, Sophia gets the long animation, and the massive 2,100 damage she does finishes off Soul Cage. And after this battle, there is no full heal. And that's an issue because Aurora gets kidnapped and I have to fight Amarant with just under 200 HP. Blanche's damage is pretty great, but ultimately... yeah, I died. I am not satisfied with that. Editor, play the sad music. I died. Yeah. That was better. So I try again, and I don't know what Eidolon I had to sacrifice for this, but Amarant misses his first attack, and that leads to a counterattack. And then he misses his second attack, and Blanche counters again. And then he misses his third attack, and this time, though, no counter, but the luck has been exquisite. And one more attack takes out Amarant. He missed almost as much as Logan Paul's defamation lawsuits. But giant eyeballs never miss, and Sophia, distressed by her nascent glaucoma, takes a quick nap. And I take advantage of her slumber to name our new redheaded friend Charlie. I also capture Aurora Borealis and force her to receive my love. Oh, you trying to get away from me. You will never get away from me. Woo, 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 woo. But after she escapes my grasp, we have one final fight in this act against some disgusting bugs. And since we didn't get a full heal, I am very thankful that we have Charlie in the party, because Blanche dies in the first battle and I have to rely completely on him. But fortunately, his rising suns blast this bug brain to bits. Rose beats down insect number 2, and things get dire with bug number 3 as it uses a mist attack, which has a chance to put my characters to sleep. No! No, 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 no! Okay, thank God nobody fell asleep. Thank you, Jesus. A pinwheel takes down the final centipede. Queen Bronze's ability to heal is tested, and this chapter is... As Disc 3 begins, there are a couple of items that I desperately need, and fortunately, they are at the auction house. The feather boots, which will be crucial for several boss fights, and the dark matter, which will teach Sophia the Odin summon. And it also does another important thing, but we'll come back to these later. But also, can we discuss how disturbing this bird death cry is? Anyway, I win the card game against Aaron relatively quickly, but in this challenge, the rebirth ring I get from it is completely worthless. And this is honestly what I love about this particular challenge. It takes the most overpowered nonsense from the regular game and turns it into second string shite. Similarly, back at the castle, I get angel earrings, which will teach auto regen, which also go right in the garbage. And now Alexandria is under attack, so we gotta throw some more bugs in the garbage. With Beatrix. And rather than let Beatrix steal my precious experience, I just let Stan whack her. Oh, are you kidding me? This is actually the most interesting aspect of this challenge to me. In case you don't know, I beat this game at level 1, and in that challenge, I had to kill Stan so he didn't gain experience. Anyway, I'll link that in the Discridly-Do for later. He's able to take out the first buggy pretty easily, but then I realized that my plan is stupid, because his health is now so low that he won't survive another assault. So I reset. This time, though, I let Beatrix stay alive, and I do the same in the next battle. And in the next battle, I just have her hit both with a Clim Hazard. Will that kill them both? Nope. And she and Stan finish them off with their next 2 attacks. 2 attacks take out the next insectoid. Stan hits an immense critical hit in the next buggy bout, but he gets hit by a fiber spell in the next one before he can take it out. And there's just one more battle. And fortunately, Stan goes into trance for this one. So I have Beatrix use Clim Hazard, which sadly does not kill, and a missed attack destroys Stan. And I'm in trouble, because Beatrix sleeps through work and she gets fired. I'm about to die, guys. That's okay. Well, Oh, that sucked. So I go back to the final 3 battles again. The first bug goes down with no issues. The second also gets wrecked within seconds. And in the trance battle, Clem Hazard once again does not kill, but Stan is able to finish off the first one. But then Beatrix gets head attacked to death. But this is actually good, because Stan gets the final blow, meaning he also gets all the experience from this battle. None of that really matters though, because Kuja attacks, Alexander retaliates, and a giant eyeball shows up to ruin everyone's day. But before the day is ruined, we must defeat the ultimate enemy, illiteracy, also known as Tantarion, and he's a book, which means this joke makes no sense. The goal in this battle is to deal between 150 to 200 damage with our attacks, which will open up the book to reveal the reading rainbow itself. And even though I've now beaten this boss like 8 times in other playthroughs, I clearly still don't know how it works. Now the question is, does throwing close him? And it does not. Throwing does close him. Tantarion then takes out Blanche and Charlie with a paper storm. But I overlooked something. Vivi's invincible, guys. I forgot. He's invincible with the frickin' Robe of Lords. So basically, I just have Dorothy jump while Rose focuses her magic. Unfortunately, though, disaster strikes. Oh, Doom. I forgot about Doom. Crap, that actually sucks. I can't handle that. That's the one thing. Doom and Death are 2 of the 3 status effects in this game that cannot be avoided. And comment below if you know what the third one is. So Rose expires and Dorothy is soon to follow and I die. But with renewed resolve, I give it a second shot, which of course starts out terribly since Blanche dies almost immediately to a paper storm. But ultimately, I use Charlie's spare change ability to do the right amount of damage and the book opens up. However, rather than attack right away, I just have Rose focus. The only attack the book can do while open is cast the poison spell, which Rose is immune to. And after a few of those, Rose's bio does 4,500 damage. Tantarion only has about 22,000 health, so 5 of those will kill it. A second bio does 4,200, but then Tantarion closes up shop, forcing me to start the cycle again. Fortunately, 1 spare change and a fire spell are enough to crack open this terrible tome a second time. Another bio hits for 4,700, a 4th hits for 4,600, and 1 final bio spell deals 4,200 damage, finishing off this battle and getting me one of the most important pieces of armor in this challenge, the running shoes. These will teach the auto haste ability, which will make battles in the future much safer. Sadly though, the giant eyeball now destroys the castle and we take shelter in Lindblum. Sophia unfortunately develops a sore throat here, and while it's probably viral, without the ability to heal, I don't know that she'll ever speak again. But there is a silver lining. We are gifted a boat. And while it will definitely have some heavy maintenance cost, my stance on this issue is resolute. Don't buy a boat. Our newfound maritime vessel allows me to bring my blue bird to uncharted waters, specifically to Chocobo's lagoon, and after looting the place, I turn my bird red, allowing it to climb mountains. And after ransacking the primordial roost a second time, I take a brief break from the bird grind to manage the most important task in the game, the dragon grind, because very soon Dorothy will gain her dragon crest ability. This skill deals damage equal to 100 times the number of dragons I've defeated and caps out at 9,999. And as you might guess, I will be defeating 100 dragons to maximize its potential. And I grind about 30 of them before I feel the icy fingers of ADHD, undiagnosed of course, clutch my brain. And the only cure is another Chocobo customization to dark blue. So now my cute cockatoo can cavort through the ocean. And because of this, I can now swim directly back to Chocobo's lagoon, dig through the deep muck for more chocographs, and then finish off the dragon grind by killing 69 dragons. Nice. Plus another 31, I guess. And then we head to the Desert Palace. Here, I have to choose a party of 4 to head to the Forbidden Continent. I choose a team of Blanche, Stan, Dorothy, and Aurora. And while Aurora might seem a weird choice because magic can't be used in Oggleburps, she's actually an important choice because only my mages can equip the Robe of Lords. But I'll talk about that in a bit. And by in a bit, I mean right now because we're heading directly to Arc. The Robe of Lords completely negates wind damage and has huge physical defense, meaning that Aurora is essentially invincible in this battle. But I have an ulterior motive in this battle. I need to steal Dorothy's Holy Lance. And on my first try, Blanche gets confused and killed by a boomerang attack. And since he is the only one who can steal, I am definitely starting this battle over. And on the second try, I remember to equip Clear-Headed, preventing confusion. And then, you can just watch every... Holy Lance! Okay, we're good. If Zidane gets trance, it's over. So once Arc uses a boomerang attack, it's on like Donkey Kong. Solution 9 deals 7,000 damage, and a second casting deals 6,200, defeating the giant airboat. Which means now it's time to return to the Desert Palace to contend with the leftovers. And after collecting all of the bloodstones in this area, the next boss is a nice break from the agony of the rest of this challenge, because my characters are equipped with auto reflect, and all this enemy does is cast magic. So Coco attacks, Charlie attacks, the boss casts Thundaga, which gets reflected back at it, Sophia's sore throat acts up, and the boss ultimately defeats itself with a Blizzaga, going down within about 20 seconds. Karma is a bitch, and so are these two clowns. They kidnap Aurora, and we voyage to rescue her. And our first obstacle is a battle with two dragons. And with a Robe of Lords on both Rose and Sophia, they're able to negate all wind attacks. For example, the aerial slash that comes out right away. But as I mentioned, we also have a brand new tool we can use, Dorothy's Dragon Crest. This does a cool 9,999 damage to Dragon number 1, easily defeating it. And the second one falls victim to a second Dragon Crest, which brings us to the battle with Multi-Gamini. And no sound effects here, editor, but we get a full heal. Weird timing, but I'm not complaining. I start by summoning with Sophia, but as you might guess, that doesn't matter much because Dorothy then goes full send with Dragon Crest. Aurora's Holy does respectable damage as well, though. Aurora then dies to a bio, but that doesn't really matter because one more Dragon Crest from Dorothy takes out this contagious cretin, finally getting us a prized airship. And maybe you're thinking these last few bosses were a bit too easy, and I get it. They were. But things are going to get very crazy very soon. After a haircut, a bird painting ceremony, and some retail therapy, it's time to head to Ibsen's castle to continue the challenge. And after procuring 4 mirrors, Taharka is our next opponent. But when you're able to do 9,999 damage with Dorothy, 5,000 damage with Rose's flare spells, and also Sophia and Blanche are like, there, the challenge feels pretty minimal, and this boss goes down without doing a single point of damage. Before I leave though, I grab the Ancient Aroma. This will teach Sophia the Odin Sword ability. Normally, the Odin Summon has a chance to kill all enemies in battle in one hit, which is good I guess, but this effect is useless on bosses. However, the Odin Sword ability changes that. It causes Odin to also deal massive damage to all enemies. And unlike all other summons, which do more damage if you have more of the gem required to summon them, Odin's damage is based on the amount of ore in your inventory. Specifically, he does maximum damage if you have 0 ore, which is actually hugely powerful. And this summon is pretty much all she'll be using for the rest of the challenge. But she doesn't get to take Odin for a spin yet, because now that we have those mirrors, we gotta drop off our characters at the 4 temples. She and Aurora get deposited at the water temple, Dorothy and Charlie literally jump into a volcano, Stan and Rose head to the wind temple for a lesson on blowing. I swear they're gonna take away my YouTube license. And Blanche and Coco head into the earth temple to fight the Earth Guardian. Sensible. Fortunately, Coco has equipment that negates earth damage. I think the feather boots, I don't quite remember. And it's good that they do, because the Earth Guardian opens with Earthquake, which you might notice does over 1,000 damage to Blanche, meaning that I'm in danger. So let's cut to the chase here. I died. So what I ultimately do is give Coco a circlet, and I give Blanche auto haste and auto float. And while I'm here, let me just talk about something that will come up later. HP plus 20%. These HP and MP increasing abilities are really useful in this challenge. Kind of. The problem is that they only change your maximum stats. That means that if I forget to equip them before I get a full heal, I get literally no benefit. And for my mages, the half MP ability effectively doubles their maximum MP, invalidating those skills entirely by comparison. But anyway, I remembered to equip this one before my last heal, so we're good to go. So try number 2, the Earth Guardian immediately starts with an Earthquake, so I'm pretty happy with my choices. Unfortunately though, his Viraga spell can still do over 1,000 damage to Blanche. But I will persevere. He's dead. Yeah, let's try that again. Try number 3 goes... No! But for try number 4... Oh, I have the strat. I have it. We're trying this. I have an idea. I throw away the auto float ability and just equip the circlet on Blanche. This negates earth damage without using ability gems. I then give Blanche auto reflect to prevent spell damage and the long reach ability so he can sit comfortably in the back row. I round out everything with the devil killer ability to enhance his damage. And honestly, fuck Coco. They can't do shit in this battle. I'm sorry, all you they them mayhems out there are absolute legends, but Coco is completely fucking weak in this battle. They're gonna die. But right before the battle... Wait, did I put the coronet on Sedaine instead of the Damn it! Fortunately, though, there's a brief window where I can re-equip these 2 legends, or rather this 1 legend and this 1 dud. So I give Blanche the circlet. So in we go, and right away... Are you kidding me? So while it's a valiant attempt, within 30 seconds, I die. But try number 6 starts much more strongly, with Coco dying immediately. And immediately, the battle is looking much better. A double miss, a reflected Blizzaga, a useless Earthquake, a second useless Earthquake, another reflected Blizzaga, but then a setback. Another double slash, but not a critical hit. Come on. No! Well, try number 7. Coco dies, and then 1 double slash hits, another double slash hits, but kind of weakly this time. But beyond that, the Earth Guardian completely whiffs, and Blanche takes it down with a final attack. Yeah! We did it! Thank God. Sometimes challenges are hard because the battles are hard, and sometimes they're hard because I fuck up. And let me tell you, I fucked up hard when I entered Terra. I promise that I will explain much later, but for now, let me just say that we have just a few more full heals left before the end of the game, and I really needed to prepare better before moving on. And just for some fun foreshadowing, I did save before I entered Terra. File that away for later. We essentially just walk through Terra until we reach what is normally a run killer, the You Are Not Alone section. But ultimately, the Black Horsey tries its best, but is dragon crested and rising sun to death. Big Buggy kills Coco, but Stand Shock does work, and he and Blanche are easily able to squash it. And finally, the Adamantoise. I still guard against earth attacks, so those earthquakes don't do a thing. But somehow he manages to defeat Blanche, which is weird because that's not usually how the battle goes. I don't understand, because isn't he supposed to rush you and then Garnet heals you? Like, I thought that was scripted. Which, by the way, is a forced heal. I don't have control over that. On try number 2, though, Charge does bring Blanche down to 1 HP, and we get a scripted assist from our sullen sister. Blanche continues to attack, and Sophia finally gets to summon Odin, who does a little less damage than I expected. But still, 1 more attack from Blanche is enough to end this turtle's sorry existence. And soon after, it's time for a fight with the White Dragon. I know there's a full heal coming up right after this boss gauntlet, so I don't hold back. Charlie throws, Dorothy uses Dragon Crest, Rose just dies, and a final wing edge from Charlie is enough to defeat it. Garland is next, and his initial attack pops Blanche into trance. Dorothy Dragon Crest. Blanche uses Stellar Circle 5 to also hit the damage cap, and Charlie throws a wing edge, which disappointingly does very little. Garland then uses a flare on Dorothy, which takes her out. So things are going really well. Blanche dies soon after, and a final wing edge ends the battle with Charlie having just 111 HP. Really excited for Kuja. Let's see how it goes. I died. So in an attempt to reach Kuja without everyone being dead, I try again. And the dragon battle starts off well with an aerial slash, which 3/4 of my characters negate. So I throw with Charlie, Dragon Crest with Dorothy, have Rose reflect his flare spell off of Blanche, and I think he's equipped with the Reflect ×2 ability, which doubles his spell power if it's reflected, and this is enough to destroy the dragon, putting me in a much better situation than before. Garland is next, and while his flare spell is threatening, it doesn't quite kill Dorothy. So this allows Rose to use flare, Blanche attacks, Dorothy Dragon Crests, and then Garland wastes a turn casting Stop, which Charlie is immune to. And this one mistake allows Charlie to throw, Blanche to attack, and Rose to flare. But then Garland uses a wave attack. That sucks, actually. And fortunately, he uses it on Charlie. So Dorothy uses a final Dragon Crest to finish him off. Everyone alive and just in time for Kuja. So I line up all of my attacks. A throw from Charlie, an attack from Blanche, a Dragon Crest from Dorothy, and a flare from Rose. Kuja then kills Dorothy with a Thundaga, but it's too late. A Wing Edge from Charlie and an attack from Blanche don't quite kill, but Kuja then just uses Demi, which can't kill because it deals percentage damage. And a final round of attacks from my characters is enough to finish him off, activate his transform, and propel us into the end game. Except remember when I talked about that mistake before? I am so So we did get a full heal after we left Terra, but that's the last one we get. Kind of, but the last one doesn't really matter that much. Anyway, I'll talk about that later. The preparation for the final boss gauntlet is kind of a nothing burger, so I take Dorothy out of the party because I will probably need her Dragon Crest later. Then I head straight into the Nova Dragon. Rose uses Flare immediately, and then I get just a teensy bit lucky. A Psychokinesis hits Rose for just about half her health. After Odin, an attack, and a Wing Edge though, a Shockwave takes Rose down. Sophia summons and Blanche attacks, but the Nova Dragon counterattacks and Blanche is now in the yellow. A Shockwave then drops Sophia down to low health. And I'll be honest, I was not feeling super optimistic at this point. But fortunately, Nova Dragon's next attack is Twister, which everyone in the party is immune to. But the next Shockwave attack takes out Sophia and Blanche, meaning things are once again looking pretty dire. Even so, Charlie manages to finish off the Nova Dragon with a Wing Edge. With 3 of my characters dead though, I'm probably not going to make much progress after this, so I try the battle again, and Sophia and Rose die immediately. So I try a 3rd time. On this attempt though, I bring all of my physical attackers. But small problem, Blanche gets damaged and has the ribbon equipped. Blanche survived it. Oh no, he absorbed it. No, that's a reset. Absorbing an attack when at full health doesn't count as healing, but he wasn't at full health, so let's try that again. But this time, I give Rose the Octagon Rod so he can absorb wind and water from the jump. And Speed Round, a Shockwave deals damage to the party, and the subsequent Tidal Wave heals Rose, so I reset. And the next try is a resounding death. But on the next try, I'm healed. Reset. And again. And the next try is actually successful. But rather than give you a play-by-play, let's skip to the ending. Stan is dead, and Charlie, Blanche, and Rose are alive. And honestly, this is the best it's gonna get. Now, the astute among you might notice that we have quite a bit of video left. Yet there are only 7 more bosses left in the game. What's up with that? Well, I said that 3 living characters were as good as it's going to get, and yet that's not good enough, because the next boss, Molyrus, is way too strong for my decrepit damsels, and with a final flourish, she takes out Dorothy, ending my chances of getting through this challenge. And honestly, after this battle, I felt really depressed, guys. I knew I had to grind, but I didn't know how. I couldn't grind after Terra because then I wouldn't get my health back. But you might remember that I made a save right after I defeated the Earth Guardian, right before I entered Terra. And at this moment, I knew that I was going to have to go back to that save. But I was feeling burnt out, so I made a hard decision. I put this challenge aside, and I worked on other projects that I was feeling more passionate about. For 4 months, I did not touch this game. But once I'd had some time to reflect and do some projects that I was really passionate about, I was ready for a second shot. With a new day comes a new strategy, and starting back before Terra, I need a near-infinite grind spot. My first idea was the Iifa tree, the tree. The idea here was to use softs on these guys to turn them flaccid, and while that does work, I run into a couple problems. They're not the only enemy to appear here, meaning this area is not safe. And even more importantly, you might remember before I told myself I wasn't going to do that. I want to stay true to the challenge. So I ultimately decide not to use this area to grind. So I then head over to fight Grand Dragons, which is honestly one of the most stupid ideas I've ever had. They are way too strong, and they have plenty of non-elemental attacks to make my team suffer. But funny enough, the solution that I'm looking for is literally right next to those Grand Dragons, because in the forest there are Garudas, and 99% of the time they only do 2 things. They can cast Firaga, which I can reflect, and Stop, which I also can reflect. That makes this the safest grind possible. So after about 3 hours of grind, my characters are all around level 50, and I'm ready to re-enter Terra. With my new stats, Terra is no issue at all. The black horsey gets wrecked, the big buggy gets decked, The turtle gets slashed, and the dragon gets smashed. Garland gets crushed. We turn Kuja to mush. And now we're back to the final boss gauntlet, and nothing rhymes with gauntlet. But before we head in, I find a treasure chest that's in the middle of the ocean, and the most important item in it is Blanche's Ultima weapon, which is just a huge attack boost. So I fly to Memoria to massacre some monsters. Nova Dragon is our first challenge.
When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
And immediately I can see that this is going a lot better. The first shockwave takes away a quarter of my character's HP instead of 3/4 this time, and Blanche immediately hits 2 massive attacks, a counter and his regular turn. And just for fun, Nova Dragon counters and gets a massive critical hit. Oh, holy crap, this is bad. Dorothy's Dragon Crest, Rose's Flare, and Stan's Shock all activate, and an Aerial Slash does a small amount of chip damage to my 2 knights. And a final Dragon Crest finishes off this scaly bird. And while I'm not delighted with Blanche's current health, I finally have the realization of a millennium. Oh! I don't have to use him right now. Okay. This game is over 25 years old, and I just learned that I don't have to use Blanche in the final area. Wow. So now that we're back on track, I head into Molyrus. Sadly, Stan dies immediately though, so I decide to just try that one again. And in fact, I decide to just try Nova Dragon again to see if I can keep my party healthier. And this time, I managed to kill it with everyone in a much better place. But before I head back into Molyrus, I take a detour back to Daguerreo. There, I buy the Aegis gloves, which negate fire attacks. Stan is the only one who can use them, but c'est la vie, it's better than nothing. But we're in. And my luck, not the greatest. Coco immediately loses 2/3 of their health to a fire attack. 3 huge attacks from my party follow, and then Molyrus activates my trap card. She uses a flame slash on Stan, wasting her turn. But after a few more attacks, she uses a normal attack on Stan, driving him into trance. And his attack brings her health to critical, meaning I'm in big trouble. She uses her final attack, Raining Swords. I don't think Garnet will survive this. I don't think Coco will survive this, but I think Zidane and Steiner will survive this. Oh! She survived it! Ha ha! Yes! So now, with one of my ancient women downed, we move on to Tiamat. Tiamat can absorb my character's offensive stats, but it fortunately absorbs magic for its first attack. This allows all 4 of my characters to hit hard and fast for about 20,000 damage total. He next wastes the turn by casting Float on Stan, but after Stan's next attack, Tiamat uses Snort, removing him from the battle entirely. So after another round of attacks, he uses Twister, which destroys Dorothy, which is terrible since she's my main damage dealer. But something else happened on that attack. Something that will completely change the course. Blanche's next attack takes down Tiamat. I'm still gonna try the next one. I think it's still possible. With 6 octogenarians remaining, the Kraken is next.
Release the Kraken!
I equip my team with Auto Reflect so that Rose can bounce Thundaga spells off of them, and he goes down pretty quickly with little collateral damage. And the Lich deals not a single point of damage to my team. And by now you've probably noticed that I'm speeding through my narration of these battles. No reason. Death Guys goes down on the first try, and after about a bajillion attempts, Kuja does too. And for the last time in the challenge, we get a... And Necron 2 goes down on the first... So I looked back at the footage, and here is where it happened. And my last save file is just before Molyrus. The Molyrus battle honestly goes worse, and I end up with a dead rat lady after the final attack. But this time, Tiamat actually goes better. He's only able to damage Charlie, none of my characters absorb any elemental damage, and Coco finishes off the battle with an enormous critical hit. So now, let's actually talk about the Kraken.
Release the Kraken!
I equip Auto Reflect on the entire party because this will prevent the Kraken from destroying my party with water damage, and absorbing it will not work out. Aurora gets hit by a water gun almost immediately immediately though, and this activates her trance. But before she can act, Rose's Thundaga is reflected off of everyone and it caps damage on the main body and one of the Tantacles. Charlie throws and an ink counter attack destroys him. But now Aurora is able to cast Holy twice. The first one kills Tantacle number 1 and the second one hits the main body. Unfortunately though, the water gun counter brings her health way down low, and after another water gun hits Blanche, I realize that this is not the way to win and I reset. And this time I have a new strategy. The people at full health can have water absorb armor that won't heal them, and the battle immediately seems like a success with Aurora's Holy hitting the main body. And because she's at full health and absorbs water damage, the water gun counterattack does nothing. Charlie throws a wing edge at one of the Tantacles and it doesn't counter. Rose then uses a massive Thundaga spell that reflects off of the party, and this hits the main body and the same Tantacle that Charlie hit, taking it out. And then Aurora's Holy hits the other Tantacle and an attack from Blanche removes it from battle. Sadly though, it now uses a leg attack on Charlie, removing him for the rest of the game. But now Rose uses another Thundaga to damage cap on the Kraken, and we experience a miracle. The Kraken uses a leg attack and Aurora dodges it. And it counters Blanche's next attack as well, and he also dodges. A Holy from Aurora then hits and a Thundaga from Rose is countered, resulting in his first damage of the battle. But with one more attack from Blanche and one more Holy from Aurora, the Kraken is defeated. And this went pretty well since Aurora is still at full health. This means it's time to move on to the Lich, the nemesis of all of my solo challenge runs. But with everyone negating earth damage, I'm not so worried. Aurora starts with a Holy spell, which damage caps. Then Lich wastes the turn casting Stop. Except wait, is he not immune to Stop? Did I not give him freaking locomotion? Well, power of prayer, guys. Power of prayer. Sophia summons Odin, Rose hits another flare, and then the Lich actually wastes the turn by casting Earthquake. That is amazing, amazing luck. Wow. Another Holy from Aurora damage caps. Odin deals 7,700 damage, but then Lich uses a Death Cutter. No, 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 no! Oh my god, he missed it! Yes! Yes! Oh, that clinches it, I'm pretty sure. And another flare from Rose and a Holy from Aurora end this battle with my party taking 0 damage. This could not have gone better. And this leaves just 3 more bosses, starting with Death Guys. And he starts with a meteor, which kills Rose and Sophia. So ultimately, I die. If that initial meteor doesn't leave my characters alive, I'm basically dead. Fuck. Listen, you guys, I could go play-by-play through all of these Death Guise attempts. I could tell you that the next meteor killed 2 people and I died, and that the next one also killed 2 people and I reset, and the next one killed 3, and the one after that killed 2, and the one after that just obliterated everyone. But I'm not going to do that, because the next meteor only kills Sophia, and that means I can finally put my grand plan into action. Stan is now in trance and he damage caps an attack, and then Coco uses Night. Remember, that was like 50 minutes ago that we learned that spell. Anyway, Night puts every unit in battle to sleep. Not a 100% chance, but pretty close. Unless, of course, my characters have Insomniac equipped, which they do. So now Death Guys takes a nap and I can act. So Rose reflects a flare on himself and I wait for Coco's ATB to refill. And once it fills, I immediately have Stan attack again, and then Coco uses Night to put Death Guise immediately back to sleep. So I rinse and repeat, and one final attack from Stan is enough to end the torture and bring us to Kuja. And Kuja has all of the tools necessary to make my life a living
Hell.
There's no reason to have another chapter here, but I did it anyway. Kuja starts by immediately killing Stan with a flare, and then it's Rose's turn to flare. And then Aurora shows off her Holy. Why am I like this? A flare then whacks Blanche, but Blanche slashes back. But now Kuja uses Flare Star, and this attack is bad news. It attacks all characters and the damage is consistent based on their level. And this one kills everyone except Aurora. And I'm just keeping it real, it's not happening on this attempt. Especially since I tried to bounce this Holy off of Rose, which doesn't work, so she just bops herself instead. I mean, granted she guards against Holy damage, but it doesn't matter because Kuja then bops her with a Flare spell and I die. And the second try, I think it's not gonna miss though. I think it's gonna hit. Yep, it's over. It's over. It's over. It's over. It's Jover. It's Jover, guys. It's Jover. That was terrible. Third try, dead. But on the fourth try, Stan dies immediately to a flare, Rose flares back, Aurora casts the Medine summon, meaning she doesn't have to rely on Rose's reflect, and then Kuja casts Holy on Aurora, which she negates. Blanche gets a big attack in, and then Kuja does the worst thing possible. He casts Flare Star. Rose, dodge it. Rose, dodge it. Rose, dodge it! Rose dodged it! Yes! Woo! And Aurora didn't dodge it, meaning she immediately enters trance. And because Rose didn't dodge it, he's able to throw a dark matter at Kuja, dealing maximum damage. And rather than attacking, Kuja makes a mistake. Aurora casts Medine once more, and then Kuja casts Reflect on himself, and Blanche winds up for an attack. Is he throwing? Is he freaking throwing this battle? He threw! He just threw! What the hell? But that means there's just one challenge left. Necron represents the final forced heal of the game. So give me the goddamn sound effect and the confetti. Thank you. So I bring in Stan, Dorothy, Rose, and Aurora to hopefully deal maximum damage. Rose casts Flare, Dorothy uses Dragon Crest, and then Necron hits Dorothy with a Flare. Then Necron gets a second attack, a Firaga, that he uses on the entire party, but it gets reflected off of Rose for a tiny bit of extra damage. Aurora then casts Medine, getting a juicy damage cap. And then Necron uses Blue Shockwave, reducing Dorothy's HP to 1. But everyone is still alive, and we're half done. Another flare from Rose, but the damage from the next Dragon Crest cannot be blocked. Already dead! Not even a single freaking Grand Cross, guys. Wow! Wow! Ha! And if you love this video, follow me on the social media sites that I'm flashing on the screen right now, and click this playlist to watch all of my RPG challenge runs. I'll start. Oh! No. I'm holding you. I'm holding you. Hey. What if cats were turtles? Bye-bye.